So good afternoon, I'm Chris Cooney, and it's my pleasure to be here and welcome you to the 13th in a series of COVID resources and recovery. As you know, we've tried to pivot and move most of our programming to online, and that includes our June ATHENA Awards celebration. This is our 22nd annual ATHENA Awards. So what we're going to do is today we're going to celebrate and recognize Nancy Gustafson for her extraordinary support of women through her many years with both the Brockton School Department and the Charity Guild of Brockton that serves the entire region. Nancy will become our 22nd annual ATHENA Award recipient. Before we begin our updates and then move to presenting the ATHENA Award, allow me to acknowledge some of our affiliates and partners who have helped promote this call. I just want to read a quick list here. The Avon Industrial Park Association, the Bridgewater Business Association, the Brockton Area NAACP, the Campello Business Association, the Cape Verdean Association, the Easton Chamber of Commerce, the East Bridgewater Business Association, the Haitians United, the Massachusetts Small Business Development Centers, Norwell Chamber of Commerce, the Pembroke Chamber of Commerce, the Randolph Chamber of Commerce, the South Shore Women's Business Network, and the Stoughton Chamber of Commerce. I also want to acknowledge, of course, our sponsors, our premier sponsors, Eastern Bank, and Charles is here with us, and we're gonna hear from him shortly. But also Copeland Toyota that helped as a supporting sponsor. They have not just the Toyota dealership now in Brockton, they have the Volkswagen dealership and the Chevrolet dealership, and they employ more than 160 Brocktonian or people at their facilities in Brockton. So this Zoom call is being recorded and viewable online at metrosouthchamberofcommerce.com. It is a, let me restate that, metrosouthchamber.com. Everything has been recorded. All of the resources from the state are there. Access to funds, grants, and loans and otherwise are all listed there as well. So if you have a question after the program, you can refer to that. We ask that you post all questions to our panelists in the Q&A section down below on your screen. If you just move the mouse, it'll pop up and you'll see chat and Q&A. We ask you to put in the Q&A, and we will ask them to respond to your question directly. And if there's time at the end, we'll have our speaker answer a couple of questions. So let's see. Why don't we start off as we do normally with the mayor. Mayor Robert Sullivan is here with us for the 13th straight week. And we understand that the governor had a press conference. We're going to hear from Mass Office of Business Development on that. But what's new in the city?
Yeah, first of all, thank you, Chris, and we need to recognize Juneteenth today. Of course, it's a celebration day. We're going to be recognizing here at City Hall, and it's a special day. Of course, it was 6 months delayed where the slaves in Texas were notified of their emancipation. So we're celebrating it. I'm participating on a Zoom with the library from 4 to 5 today. So again, if you're not aware of the basis, I strongly urge people. I'm the son of a history teacher. I know it well. But again, people should Google it and research it. And I also want to just recognize and congratulate Nancy Gustafson. Nancy's not just a friend, she is an unbelievable champion within the City of Champions. And I can't think of anybody more really needy, appreciative of the ATHENA Award than Nancy. And of course, our husband, Bob, does so much in the community as well. But thank you, Nancy, and congratulations. And you're like the Energizer Bunny. You're everywhere, and please don't slow down. And I say that with the utmost respect. So just to give a quick update relative to COVID, we have lost one additional person. So we're at 250 lost alive, 250 deaths. And of course, our prayers and thoughts go to the departed and their surviving loved ones. The good news is we're seeing some really good numbers. And I see Sue Joss is on. We were just on a call a little while ago. 333 current cases right now of Brocktonians dealing with this nasty, deadly virus. Good news about that is we're up to 2,900 cases just 4 weeks ago. So we're seeing it slide in the right way. Total cases 4,184. So just to let you know, Chris, the outdoor dining that the governor is allowing us to do through November 1, it's working diligently and well here in the city of Brockton. But the good thing is I had filed an ordinance, as you know, Chris, and we talked about it in weeks past. And the ordinance was to allow outdoor dining for all time. It doesn't exist on the books in the city of Brockton. I filed it several months ago, and it was sponsored by the Ward 2 and Ward 5 councilor. And good news is it was heard, unanimously voted by the City Council's Ordinance Committee favorably the other night, and it was sent back to the full City Council. So, we're seeing it right now. I guess it could be a test case under the governor's order, but once it gets ratified, we'll have it on the books, and it will be, I think, a game changer for some restaurants here in the city of Brockton. And the last thing is we're going into budget session next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, ratification on Thursday in the city of Brockton. So got a lot of balls in the air right now, but I'm a good juggler, so I'm doing that. And I also want to wish anybody that's a dad or anybody that's an uncle or a mentor or a brother-in-law or a son that is helping others. Father's Day, of course, is Sunday, and make a difference in the lives of youngsters. It's a gift to do so. And I also want to give a shout out. I know Senator Walter Timothy is on today, and the senator and I have been friends since college, and he's a great public servant in his own right. So Margaret's on. Susan, I'm sure, is on. 13 weeks have gone by quickly, but it's been really, really helpful to the people here in Brockton and neighboring communities. So thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you so much for your leadership and your participation in these calls. I would like to take a moment of silence at this time in celebration of Juneteenth. Also, the loss of Mary Ann Roble and Christine Karavides, who are past recipients of the ATHENA Award, as well as the 250 lives lost in the city of Brockton and the surrounding towns. Thank you very much. Thank you. So with us today, we have Margaret LaForest and Susan Whitaker. We're going to hear from Margaret. Susan says that she's going to answer the questions in the Q&A, so please make her feel welcome and helpful by asking some questions about whatever you'd like in terms of the reopening or any of that. Margaret, I know the governor kind of superseded the lieutenant governor and secretary of economic development's weekly call at 1 o'clock, and he basically had some big announcements for phase 2, section 2. Can you tell us a little bit about that and what's new?
Sure. Thanks so much, Chris. So yes, today was the awaited announcement that step 2 of phase 2 starts on Monday, June 22nd. And what that includes is indoor dining at restaurants, and keeping in mind they're going to be in compliance with the social distancing, changing the distance of tables to 6 feet. However, we're not reducing the capacity on those indoor dining. So trying to really give flexibility to the restaurants with those provisions. There's sector-specific protocols released on that as well.
Could you say that one more time on the indoor dining?
Yeah, so I think there was concerns of, are they going to reduce capacity, right? So tell restaurants you can't fill all of your seats. And what they did is they didn't hold them to that, and rather said, please put 6 feet of distance between your tables, right? So that you can change your configuration, and there's been some flexibility to them to see how they can best meet their needs. And obviously it's been a great success with some of the outdoor dinings. I know we talked last week about the grants for the municipalities to be able to help restaurants pivot to outdoor dining, as well as some attention to street level retail with some municipal grant funds. So getting some infrastructure to support local business. The other things we have in step 2 is like close contact personal services, and there's a lot in here. Sue's going to put that in, we can put that in the chat too, that sector specific protocols. And this is going to be address things like personal training, hair removal, nail care, skin care, massage therapy, makeup, tanning, tattoo, piercing, and body art. So those close contact personal services. And we also have sectors not otherwise addressed, right? So it's kind of hard for some people what bucket you're fitting into. So for phase 2, we are in the full set of phase 2 on Monday. As far as phase 3, what the governor did say today, we know he's previously said minimum of 3 weeks between phases. He did announce today that he would like to see 2 weeks of data once we open up this second step. So that would put June into the first week in July before we could start phase 3. But again, it's really important. It's data, not dates, as we make that decision. And we're watching about our real methodical approach in reopening. And we, really appreciative to the public and to the businesses who are following these workplace standards, and we're not seeing the spikes, and the data is trending in the right direction. So we really appreciate that everybody is, a great partnership in doing their part for a safe reopening for the Commonwealth.
So I believe that's July 5th. Is that?
July 5th, yes. I'm sorry, didn't have the date in front of me, and I should. So, but again, we're not stating phase 3 starts July 5th. We're very much data, not dates, and he's looking for that 2 weeks. The MBTA is going to be increasing their service on Monday as well, and you can look at their schedule online on their website, mbta.com. We realize and recognize that for the economy to reopen, transportation is a critical enabler, so check that information out. And then our career centers, while they're not open to the public for walk-ins, we want you to know that the career centers, and there's one right across from City Hall in Brockton, that they are open and accessible, working remotely, and to be there to be a resource for companies, whether they're bringing their staff back online, looking to hire, or someone who is laid off and looking for work, to reach out to them as a resource. So last pitch is for the free technical assistance. Small Business Strong, smallbstrong.com is offering free technical assistance, and as well as we have our resource partners, the SBDC and SCORE. And I just really encourage companies to reach out and just have somebody, reviewing their situation. There's a lot to be gained from working with these great free technical advisors. So
that's in multiple languages, correct?
Yes, and I think that's really important to know. This is part of whether it was the PPP application, the Commonwealth really reached out and recognizing the needs of the diverse population that we have here in the Commonwealth. So the technical assistance is also available throughout many, many languages. So please keep that in mind. The other group was empoweringsmallbusiness.org is through Mass Growth Capitals, and there's just a lot of different options for technical assistance. And again, with a real diverse range.
Great. Thanks so much for that update. I know we were all anticipating the press conference today, and he didn't disappoint us in allowing on Monday restaurants to have indoor dining at their discretion in terms of numbers. So no limitation, 25%, 50%, as long as they can maintain 6 feet apart from tables. And of course, the rest of the mask and gloves and cleaning in between.
And you'll see some things different. Like, for example, bar seating is not allowed.
Yeah.
Right. So it's going to be a different experience when you're at these restaurants. And I just, it's been great so far. The outdoor dining experience, the unique experiences of people dining in parking spots and parklets, and really some creative solutions that the municipalities and the businesses have worked together on. So go support your local faves.
Absolutely. And, many of them are having seating. So they might have one at 1, 3:30, 5, 6:30, and that's how they're doing it. And they're filling up the seats. And it's funny, I participated in one of those this weekend and or earlier this week. And it worked very smoothly. You could see them cleaning. Everyone stood 6 feet apart to get in there. One group came out, the next group went in. And it was very quick in terms of getting your food. And, you had plenty of time to enjoy the space. So that's terrific. Thank you for that update. Really appreciate that. And now we're moving to Eli Spayu with the Small Business Administration. Eli's been with us all of these weeks, updating us. Last week, he brought us great news that the EIDL loans, or EIDL loans, from the Small Business Administration reopened for all businesses, grants and loans. So that was big because they had shut those down for about 5 weeks. And so we're encouraging every company to apply, whether they think they need it yet or not, because they may need it. So they should apply. And the grant piece was based on $1,000 per full-time employee. And then from there, you qualify for lending. And a lot of our small companies have been pre-qualified for $40,000, $60,000, $80,000. That's a 30-year note payback at 3.75. Nonprofits can get 2.75 for 30 years as well. So again, if you're involved in organizations or businesses, please spread the word on that. Eli, how are you? I think you're muted there. Eli, can you hear us? Lexi, can you try to text him and see if he can?
Yeah, I'll get in touch with him.
We can come back to him if we need to. I know he's had problems in the past with his connection, but only once, so this is unusual. So I think what we'll do, it looks like he fell off. So I'm going to give him 1 minute or less, and then we're going to move on to the next portion of the program, and we can film it at the end.
He's back on.
Okay. Hi, Eli, can you hear us? I see that you're still on mute. I don't know if you, yeah, there you go. Maybe.
Chris, yes, good afternoon to you all. Been having some issues with Zoom lately on this government computer, but as you can see, the camera works.
Hey,
So
how are you?
connection is not the best, the video feedback is working great. So I do have some updates for everybody, and thanks again for the opportunity, to provide some updates for folks here. I believe I have this on a PowerPoint slide. So first and foremost, we're making still good progress with both the PPP loan program as well as the EIDL loan program. Just want to remind folks once again that the deadline to apply for a Paycheck Protection Loan program is fast approaching. June 30th is the ultimate last day that any bank or credit union can submit a loan to the SBA, but that doesn't mean that you are able to walk into a bank on the last day and say, I need a loan. So give the lenders a few days, give them a few weeks. Well, there's not more than a week now, but just apply as soon as you can. If you haven't taken advantage of this great program, don't delay it any further. With that said, just going over the numbers, we're up to 4.6 million units on the PPP loan program for a total of $513 billion. I probably shared this with you last time, but that dollar amount represents 50 million.
Oh, you froze. 50 million? Lexi?
Yeah, I think he froze, so I'm gonna stop sharing the slides right now.
All right, yeah, let's do that, and then we're gonna move. We'll have to have him come back at the end. Okay.
Chris, this is Charles. The one thing I know, I've been on numerous calls with Eli. So the one thing to all of your constituents is, please understand that there are lenders out there still making PPP loans. Please contact your local lenders if you have not gotten one to ensure your eligibility. And last thing is, with loan forgiveness coming up, there have been some changes to the program. It went from 8 to 24 weeks with additional deferral time. So it will be more advantageous to people who are in hospitality who couldn't hire their staff back early. And now that they can, you can take advantage of all the programs. So please be aware of all of that information.
I love to see Charles' collegiality. He's jumping right in. A lot of people don't realize he and I met when he came from California. I think it was with the Small Business Administration.
Texas.
Okay.
The great state of Texas.
All right, great state of Texas. And that was a number of years ago. And you were here for a couple of years with the SBA, and then you moved over to Eastern Bank. So thank you for jumping in there and filling in. I appreciate that.
No problem. And I see Eli's back. Eli didn't want to steal any of your thunder, but I just wanted to make sure that people got the information.
No, absolutely. I appreciate that, Charles. And quickly, I'll go over the numbers because I know my time is limited. And
yeah, I think for whatever reason the volume is too heavy on that connection, Eli, because we can't hear you again. So Lexi, I'm gonna ask you to make the cut, and then we're gonna move on to the next section.
Okay.
So Lexi, can you confirm that?
Yes, I'm.
Great. So despite the advancement of women in virtually all industries, there remains a relative few who advance to the highest levels of leadership. Today, we are reminded just how important those who enable, encourage, and empower women really are. We are fortunate to have many strong women in leadership roles within the Metro South region. I would now like to introduce one of those women, today's MC, Sue Joss. Sue is a board member and former board chair of the Metro South Chamber of Commerce and is currently the CEO of the Brockton Neighborhood Health Center. Sue has led the Brockton Neighborhood Health Center for more than 25 years, where she has grown the facility and the diverse staff to over 600 employees. She has also provided extraordinary leadership to this community and the entire region throughout this battle against COVID-19. With her staff and her facilities, they are right on the front line and have perhaps been in contact with more folks who in need than any other frontline service provider in the region. We're very, very delighted to have her with us, as well as several past recipients of the ATHENA Award. And I just want to mention them before I introduce Sue to take over here. So former ATHENA recipients on the call today are Cheryl Opper, Elaine Reiser, Janet Trask, Mary Waldron, Diane Bell, and Sharon Walder. They're all here to provide support and encouragement and congratulations, I'm sure, to Nancy, our current award recipient. So Sue, can you take it from here?
Thanks, Chris, and thanks for having me host this, and congratulations, Nancy, and all the prior recipients. This is a great event and a little disorienting for me to be at something this normal, I think, after at the health center, we've taken care of more than 1,300 patients who are positive for COVID. And so coming back into the real world is a little bit of adjustment. So thanks for asking me to host, and delighted to do that with Nancy as the recipient. We'll be presenting an exceptional leader with the important ATHENA Award, and hear from another accomplished woman who's the founder of 3 enterprises, Carlton PR and Marketing, Innovation Nights, and Innovation Women. A main highlight of today's program is the ATHENA Award presentation. Since the ATHENA program's inception in 1982, more than 6,700 individuals from over 500 communities around the world have been selected to receive the prestigious ATHENA Award. ATHENA nominations are sought at the community level, and the award is presented to an individual, most often a woman, who has achieved the highest level of professional excellence, given back to the community, and most importantly, assisted other women along their respective leadership paths. Indeed, the focus on mentorship of other women is what sets the ATHENA Award apart from other leadership awards of its kind. I'd like to reiterate that the ATHENA program is not solely targeted to one gender, and that both men and women are eligible to receive this award. It's through representation of balanced leadership that communities will prosper, and that, of course, involves everyone. Today's honoree will be added to a long list of distinguished recipients, and Nancy is truly deserving. Nancy Gustafson has achieved the highest level of professional excellence through her various positions in the Brockton School System, as well as through her leadership and overall dedication to the mission and impact of the Charity Guild within the Brockton community. Nancy has positively impacted thousands of young people and families in Brockton and beyond. Her stewardship of the peer leadership program at South Junior High and her dedication to the Charity Guild are both examples of how she leads through her actions. Her colleagues say Nancy is a woman of wisdom, compassion, and grace. Her former students say Nancy is a trusted confidant who helped guide us. She instilled in us the importance of helping those who might be vulnerable or less fortunate, lessons carried on with us through our adult lives. So it is indeed now my distinct honor to recognize the Metro South Chamber of Commerce 2020 ATHENA Award recipient, Nancy Gustafson, who has accomplished so much towards the advancement of women, especially in her roles to the Brockton School System and the Charity Guild. So congratulations, Nancy, and a virtual round of applause too.
Thank you, Sue. Mayor Bob Sullivan, I'm sorry.
No. Go. I was just going to invite you to say a few words. So,
okay. Mayor Bob Sullivan, Chris Cooney, Sue Joss, and members of the Metro Chamber of Commerce, good afternoon. I am most humbled, most honored, and so excited to receive the ATHENA Award for 2020 from the Metro Chamber of Commerce. A few weeks ago, I received a letter from the unemployment office stating that I filed for an unemployment benefits. Well, this was totally false. So I decided to email Lexi and see if the chamber had any idea of what to do with a situation like this. A few days later, I heard from Janet Trask that I should read the email from Lexi. So I was thinking that this was going to be about the letter, but when I opened the email, I was shocked. It said that I was going to be the recipient for the Athena Award this year. I just can't begin to tell you how I felt at that moment in time. There's an old Barbra Streisand song from Funny Girl called People. The opening lyrics are, people who need people are the luckiest people in the world. I think this song aptly describes me. The roots of my giving back reflect in the parenting I had. My parents always said, you receive and you give back. What sage advice, and how lucky I was to keep it up. I have many passions. Obviously, my husband is my first, but the others are the Charity Guild, which is a food pantry in Brockton, which is up to this date is feeding more people than ever before. Probably by year's end, we will have fed 14,000 people. I've been on their board since 2006, and I've seen the dynamics of this agency begin to flourish under the leadership, wisdom, and strength of Laura Streese. There's so much positive energy when you go into our facility. The clients come in, they get happy, they get their food, they walk out happy. It's just the most wonderful feeling, and I am so lucky to be there to feel and see this. I went to Cabrini University, Rowan University, Boston University, and Bridgewater State University. These 4 institutions helped me become the professional that I was in education. I was in education for 37 years, and as a teacher, school adjustment counselor, guidance counselor, and finally as an assistant principal. A few days ago, I was walking in my neighborhood and a young man went by me in a bicycle and he shouted, "Hey, Mrs. Gustafson, you're my old assistant principal at North Junior High." Well, needless to say, I didn't like the old, but the fact that that person remembered me made me feel very lucky. And frequently I get emails from students I had in the medical translation program at Brockton High School, especially those to whom I have given a Palmer Ritz scholarship. For this, I feel very fortunate and very lucky. And then there are students whom I had in junior high who are out in the working world and performing their jobs very professionally. And once again, when we see each other, they remember me and tell me that I really helped them when they were in need. For this, I feel lucky. Once a month, I go to various Brockton Housing Authority high-rises to serve them meals on behalf of the Good Samaritan Hospital. Their warm smiles, their thank yous, they make me feel lucky. And then, of course, when I sing for some event or with Our Lady of Lourdes Church Choir or the Quincy Choral Society, I feel lucky because God gave me this talent to share with other people. I belong to an educational sorority, Alpha Delta Kappa. Our sisterhood is invested in altruism. I am so lucky to belong to this vital and international organization. And I'm lucky to be surrounded by many friends and family members who always support me in all my endeavors. Of course, I don't expect anything in return when I'm out there in the community. My wishes are for the interest of whomever I'm helping. It is their well-being that is foremost in my mind. I must say that these past few months have put a damper on my activities throughout the community. But as my wise father always said, it is what it is, so you have to deal with it. And the good Lord said, this too shall pass. I recently read a quote that said, the way I used to know is permanently consigned to the dustbin of history. Truer words never spoken. Hopefully this time next year, I will be able to do what I normally do, but in another pattern, and feel like that lucky person again. And now receiving the ATHENA Award is making me feel even more lucky. So it is with deepest appreciation to those who selected me to accept this award, I say thank you. And I will pick up the, this is she. She's gorgeous. Thank you so very much.
Well, congratulations again, Nancy, on a very well-deserved. It's great to have an inspirational event happen at this time, and I can't think of anyone more deserving. Also want to let you know that an official State House citation is on its way to you, sponsored by our state delegation, so that's Senators Brady and Timilty and Reps Cronin, Dubois, and Cassidy. So congratulations from all of us, and for a lifetime of work well deserving.
Thank you.
we're fortunate to have sponsors like Eastern Bank who make programs like the ATHENA Award possible. So Eastern Bank has been helping generations of individuals, families, and businesses reach their goal for nearly 2 centuries. They've accomplished this with honest values and service that always puts their customers first. It's how they've grown up to be the largest independent, mutually owned bank and earned their reputation as a bank that cares about its customers, communities, and employees. To them, doing good things to help people prosper means providing access to credit and financial services, building strong and diverse communities by providing useful banking products and working together to best the needs of their consumers. Join Us for Good is Eastern Bank's brand and one that accurately describes all the good they do within the community. We're happy to have with us today our longstanding ATHENA Award sponsor, Charles Smith, Senior Vice President with Eastern Bank, to introduce our keynote speaker. Charles?
Excuse me. Thank you, Sue. Appreciate that glowing introduction. And Nancy, coming from a family of educators and my aunts and everybody like that, it's a very fantastic you're receiving this award today. So kudos to you, Chris. We appreciate your leadership of the Metro South Chamber and your partnership with us in guiding these things like these awards, but also helping these small businesses navigate these troubling times. So we really appreciate your stewardship and let us know how we continue to can continue to support. It's very funny to me that I didn't realize we've been supporting this program since 2013. I do remember the first time we were asked to do this. So it's been a long ride, and I've been at these awards 4, 6, or 7 years. I think I missed 2 just due to being on vacation. So it's been a great time for me. And one of the pleasures that I've had is to speak about Eastern Bank, which I don't have to do because Sue did such an eloquent job. But I also have had the chance to introduce a speaker, which I do today. And our keynote speaker is Bobby Carlton. I have the pleasure of introducing her. She started numerous businesses and helped even more entrepreneurs go through the cycle of from starting to selling their businesses. And for those who don't know, I'm the SBA program manager, so I work with a number of small businesses from their very inception all the way up through sales. And knowing how hard, how much time it takes for her to start 3 is very empowering. For her to understand she's over there blushing right now. So I say that, and I don't mean to make you feel any sort of way, but for her to go through this 3 times is special. She started her first business, Carlton PR and Marketing. Obviously, it's a PR and marketing firm. Their second business is Mass Innovation Nights, which is a social media powered new product showcase, and launched over 1,000 new products. And this has received $2.1 billion in funding. And that's especially special when you consider that a lot of those companies are women-owned companies. And one of the things that the statistics show, it is very hard for women-owned businesses to get that startup capital. So kudos to you and all the things that you do. And the last thing you do is, the last one is an Innovation Innovation Women, an online visibility bureau for entrepreneur and technical and innovative women. You are a Mass Tech All-Star and a BBJ Woman to Watch. So with that said, I want to turn it over to you, but I also want to say thank you for all you've done and all you continue to do in the community.
Thank you. And thank you. And congrats, Charles, on your big news today. That's very exciting. And also, I have to add my congratulations for Nancy, and thank you for what you've done for the local community. I love getting invited to speak at awards events. You meet such amazing people, and after the stories, you get to walk out of the events inspired. That is, if I was walking out of an actual event, of course. I want to give a big shout out to the Metro South Chamber of Commerce team for turning this award ceremony into a virtual event. In today's events world, the organizers only have really 3 choices. You can cancel, you can postpone indefinitely, or you can go virtual. And when you go virtual, you are continuing to drive that real value for your community. you're connecting your members, you're driving visibility for individuals and businesses. And this is what live events do. And I'm so afraid that it's going to be a very long time before we can safely gather in large numbers for an event. If we haven't already met, I actually took a sneak peek at the participants, and there's some names I recognize. If we haven't met, my name is Bobby Carlton, and I describe myself as a parallel entrepreneur versus a serial entrepreneur. I did it all at the same time. And some of those things I didn't feel were a choice. I felt like I had to create these companies. I was driven to do so. As it was mentioned already, I have 3 companies. Carlton PR Marketing is the day job. It's running a boutique marketing and PR firm. We work primarily with startups and small companies, although in February, we handled media relations for quarantined passengers on the Diamond Princess, which gave us an early view to kind of what was coming with the COVID crisis. And it was scary, I have to admit, but absolutely invigorating. I think there was a day or two where I was probably booking 21, 22 out of a 24-hour period because we were dealing with our clients in Japan. The second company is Mass Innovation Nights. That's the monthly new product launch showcase. Again, another event company. And the dream job is Innovation Women. But I feel like most people probably know me for founding Mass Innovation Nights. And that was really, for me, the starting point of my entrepreneurial journey, which is funny because I never thought about working for myself. It was something that was completely not in the realm of my dreams. And yet my dad was an entrepreneur. It just was not something that I had thought about. I started my entrepreneurial journey when the startup that I was working for ran out of money in 2008. And that was a market something like this. If you were around and working at that time, it was something that was, again, very similar to now. I had spent 3 years working for startup wages, and suddenly I had no job, no savings. I had a mortgage. My husband was the stay-at-home parent, so he didn't have a job either. And I had 2 kids who actually do like to eat. The stock market had fallen off a cliff. Tons of people were out of work and no one was hiring. I don't know if this sounds vaguely familiar to anybody, but it does sound a little bit vaguely familiar to me when I look at what we're going through right now. But let's go back to 2008. At that point, I didn't have much of anything except a healthy amount of time on my hands, time that I put to good use. I immediately started looking for consulting work. I started my agency. It was just me. Let's be clear about that. And I spent time teaching myself everything I could about social media. Social media totally fascinated me. Now I'm a PR person, and this was a chance to cut out the middleman. And sorry to any journalists in the audience. I love you dearly. I continue to work with you. But if you can communicate directly with your target audience, like social media allows you to do, why wouldn't you love it? So social media is totally fascinating to me, and I went deep. I was tweeting. I was posting on LinkedIn and Facebook. Anyone remember things like Flickr and MySpace? I was there. I was on everything. I also spend a little bit of my extra time returned to the board of the Charles River Museum of Industry and Innovation in Waltham. And for years, I had been on the board at the museum. The Francis Cabot Lowell Mill in Waltham is the birthplace of American industry. It's the site of America's first integrated factory. And those startup years for me, when I was working for someone else's startup, I'd been a really bad board member. You know the board members. If you're working on boards at all, these are the board members that don't show up, right? That was me, totally guilty. So when I suddenly had time on my hands, I was right back at the board seat in the museum. And I don't know if people know the museum, but it's got its challenges. It's small, it's hard to find, and it's not well funded. If you want to visit the museum, when we can visit things again, you park behind the Waltham movie theater, you cross the river on a footbridge, and you walk down a dirt path. I think it's actually paved now to get to the museum. Needless to say, super hard to find. There was only one reason you might know the museum. It's the bar mitzvah capital of Waltham. So if you are a 13-year-old boy, would you rather have the biggest party of your young life at a bland hotel boardroom, or a place where your friends could potentially come to grave bodily harm? I know you know. I heard people laughing in recognition, right? You know what the answer is. I mean, giant machinery, all kinds of stuff, total danger zone. So the museum needed more people to know it was there. They needed them to buy memberships, to buy tickets, make donations, to rent out the ballroom for functions like bar mitzvahs. And the museum used to hold these things called innovation days. They would say, look, innovation of yesteryear. And they would drag out typewriters and printing presses. And the whole time they were doing that, of course, I'm fascinated by all the old things, but I'm also with my high-tech hat on thinking, if we had one iPhone app, if we had one spanking new medical device, it'd be a whole new ball game. We have small people getting inspired. Nice to see, Charles. So I ended up buying innovation nights. Museum had innovation days. I was going for the nighttime thing. I asked a friend to build me a website, and I started tweeting, I want to help launch your new product for free. I was envisioning a room full of startups and other social media savvy people all coming together to help get the word out. And within 3 days, I had 10 companies signed up for my collective product launch party, including IBM. And this is where most people do a little bit of a double take, and they're like, wait a minute, IBM, just helpful hint, Bobby, is not a startup. But they had a new product to launch. So fine, come on in. Most of the companies were startups, and they had new products, and they just needed a little bit of help to get over that first hurdle. They needed that first customer, that first visibility, that first connection, or just a little bit of feedback. They often give their all just bringing a product to market, and they just need a little bit of help from us. I know our board people here, you guys are going, yes, it's just one thing sometimes. So if we could help promote them by using the power of social media, I was all in. And I did the whole thing a little bit as a test. The Boston Globe actually reached out to me before the event and said, we want to write a story about what you're doing. All right, 35 years of PR. I was like, no, Boston Globe, don't write a story about my thing, because I wanted it to be a perfect test. I didn't want people to come in from a Boston Globe story. I wanted them to come in, and I wanted to prove that we could get people in the room doing something by just using social media. Almost 200 people showed up that night, and we generated hundreds of tweets and blog posts and videos, and there were people who got jobs. I mean, seriously, in that environment, people got jobs. And there were a bunch of startups and job seekers who got to hang out with IBM. These are incredibly valuable business connections. One company didn't connect with investors. And I know that's what everybody thinks startup events are for, go and connect with investors. But instead, I'm so proud of these guys. They connected with mentors who showed them how they could bootstrap their company. And they sold that company 5 years later. And they got the money themselves, not an investor. There were also many people who actually found the museum and came back later on with family and friends. Now, 11 years later, one of the things I know that happened that first night is members of the local steampunk community found the museum and started holding events there. And if you've ever been to Waltham, they used to do an event called Steampunk City, and it's a big community event for the steampunk community. So these incredibly synergistic connections were all made that first night. And I have to admit, that first night, it was all kind of a grand experiment. And I wasn't really thinking beyond that first night. But as people walked out the door that night, they were like, okay, see you next month. And I'm like, sure, what have I done? So for 11 years, we've held monthly events all over Boston that have helped launch. And Charles, I'm going to update your number a little bit. We've helped launch over 1,500 new products for Boston area startups. And just a little helpful hint, if you want to get well known in Boston, help startups. They are grateful and they talk. So these startups, these 1,500 startups, have received more than $4 billion in collective funding. And selfishly, my PR and marketing business has benefited from all of this visibility. And it's also made my own new projects, those other two companies, easier to launch. One of those new products, Innovation Women, is focused on getting more women on stage at conferences and events. I don't know if you know it, but 2/3 of all conference speakers are men, and often white men. Now, I am married to an old white guy, but it doesn't mean I only want to hear him talking. I use Mass Innovation Nights and the Mass Innovation Nights community to jumpstart Innovation Women. And this online platform is dedicated to getting more women speaking because we need these platforms. We need these opportunities to address things like pay equity, funding for startups, board seats. All of these things are driven by us being seen as experts and being seen as thought leaders. And as if 3 companies wasn't enough, I actually just bought a 4th company this week. On Wednesday, we announced that I bought My Speaker Leads, which is another business designed to support conference speakers. Now, this is the point where I can practically hear the room thinking, poor Bobby. She seemed so with it when we started this conversation. And it's truly sad how delusional she is about building businesses. And now she's even buying a business that's focused on events, because live events are not coming back anytime soon. According to new data I've just seen from Innovation Leader, 59%, more than half of all business people surveyed, says they don't see themselves never going back to large crowded conferences and events. So what does this mean for my now 4 businesses, and for you, and for the chamber, and for everybody that's been driving business through events? Welcome to the future. If you are not going online with your events and your business as a whole, I am scared for you. I am worried that you are going to not be relevant. I mean, it's a scary time. And again, I'm scared too. I'm running 3 businesses that are focused and dependent on events. But there is good news, I promise. I'm a big good news person. Almost anything that you could have done at a live event can be done virtually. Now, for many people, they're telling us that the value of a conference for them is the connections they make while they're attending. Maybe you start talking to somebody while you're in the catering line, or when you're getting your badge, when you're waiting for the keynote to start. Some people focus on live events as a way to connect with potential and existing customers and form or expand upon these relationships and increase the size of their community. Others go to conferences in order to learn. They want to know about the latest and the greatest in their field, and they want to talk directly to the people who are responsible for those advances. They're looking to be exposed to new and fresh ideas. The thing is, all of these benefits can be enjoyed in a virtual event too. And they can be enjoyed without the expense and the inconvenience often associated with travel. Oh yeah, and maybe you're not going to get infected with COVID because you left your house too. Virtual events may feel like a poor substitute for live events until you start to understand precisely what you can do and what is possible. Today's virtual events have evolved so far beyond the webinars and the conference calls of even a few years ago. Many people ask me how to make Zoom more interesting, and I think they're asking the wrong question. You can use Zoom. Think of Zoom like water. Zoom is the stream that you pour into different containers and to serve different purposes. There are dozens of great platforms to host your events, your networking, your virtual summits, your parties, your award ceremonies. So last weekend was the virtual Metro West Food Truck Festival. Who's gone to Food Truck Festival? Me. I bet a lot of people, right? I'll go double for lots of food truck festivals. All the food trucks submitted recordings and videos of themselves creating their signature dish. Then they gathered in a central location, and festival attendees, these are the virtual attendees, who watched the videos, ordered food to be delivered by DoorDash, Grubhub, and Uber Eats. So you can do these kinds of things. You can do virtual happy hours, wine and whiskey tastings. Have Drizzly, that's a company that came through Mass Innovation Nights, which you might already know of. Deliver your booze. They can deliver a special tasting kit right to your door. Some of the event organizers I'm working with are sending kits out for their conferences, so you get a box delivered to you. One conference that I was talking with actually sent out lunch for all of their attendees. Again, DoorDash to the rescue. We did the Mass Innovation Nights in March. What's a steampunk? I see that question. I'll answer that later. All right, sponsored by Brandeis. We did that event virtually. We even had an after party on Zoom, and we had hundreds of people attending, just as if it was a live event. Since March, we've been running educational webinars, and I have weekly drop-in office hours. Again, I'm not leaving my house. So my speaker businesses are thriving. Everyone's looking to create virtual events, and they need great content, great speakers in order to do that. And I have a whole easily searched database of them. So no more live events may sound terrible, especially if it's how you always connected with potential customers, but you can do this, I promise. In fact, you're doing it right now. And speaking of right now, now is the time to think about how you will be changing and evolving your business for this new world. This is your time. Thank you. I will turn things back over to you, team.
Well, thank you so much, Bobby. What a great presentation. Really appreciate how effectively you're teaching us to use the online platform to get through. And I know for our business, we went from 0 televisits within 4 days to now 72% of our business. So it's out there. And so congratulations and thank you for leading us into the new world. We need to wrap things up now with a few announcements. First of all, let me thank Bobby again and remind you that for more information on upcoming events, please visit the Chamber's website, which is metrosouthchamber.com. We have some door prizes today, and Lexi will be in touch with you if you're one of the winners. So first, a member profile in the action report of the Chamber's newsletter, which is distributed through the enterprise. The winner is Suzanne McCormick. And then second, we have two prizes of $50 gift cards to the 2020 Entrepreneur of the Year, which is Empower Nutrition. So the first winner of the $50 gift card is Catherine Light, and the second winner is Dan Evans. So congratulations to all three of you. Expect a contact from Lexi. Also, I'd like to wrap up with thank yous to today's guest speaker, Barbie Carlton, the Enterprise newspaper, Metro South Chamber ambassador team, this afternoon's premier sponsor, Charles Smith of Eastern Bank, and to conclude with, how about a virtual standing ovation for our 2020 Athena Award winner, Nancy Carlson, Gustafson.
Thank you.
So congratulations, Nancy, and
Thank you.
that concludes the event. Thank you all for coming.
Everyone, have a great day.
Thank you. You as well.
And thank you again.
Thank you, Nancy.
You're
Congratulations.
welcome.